Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to take you through a HSC trial question that involves the use of scale. Okay, you don't see them very often, but they can be used. And essentially, I'm just going to take you through the techniques that are involved in answering this type of question. So the first things first, you're shown a street map here, as you can see, all right, with a bunch of blocks of lands all the way through, a street running through the middle, okay? And it says that these are the residential blocks on either side of Henderson Street, and you're given a scale of 1 to 1,000. We're going to come back to that in just a moment, okay? Because that's a really important thing that we need to make sure that we understand, okay? So the first question here says it asks you to calculate the area of block number 27, okay? So when we talk about this particular thing, okay, this is a block that we're talking about here, block number 27, down here in the bottom right. Okay, and when you look at this particular diagram, you'll actually notice that there's no measurements like there usually would be for you to sort of work off. And what that means is in the exam, you have to go and take your own ruler, okay, and you have to measure it yourself and then use the scale to generate the measurements that would occur in real life, okay? So here's where we need to understand what this scale actually says. This is a scale of 1 to 1,000. So that means every 1 centimeter that I measure along here in my diagram will be 1,000 centimeters in real life. Okay, right. So using that, here's what you would do. You would go away and you'd decide to go and take a ruler to the edges of your shape. The first thing we should do before we do any of that is to make sure we identify what type of shape this block of land is. It's a trapezium. You can see that we have the two parallel sides and a perpendicular height running up along that particular edge. Okay, so we know it's going to be a trapezium, so we know we're going to use the formula A equals H over 2A plus B, where A and B are those parallel sides to each other. Okay, all right. Now what we would do is we are going to go along and we would measure each of the sides. So we would measure this side, we would measure this side, and we would measure this side using your ruler. Now I've gone ahead and I've already done this already. I am doing this on an iPad, so it's obviously not possible to do with a ruler at the moment. Okay, but what my measurements were that I came up with was this top side was 4.5 centimeters. Okay, and you can stop the video and do the measurement yourself if you want. It may be slightly different due to your printer, but I ended up with 3.5 centimeters being this bottom length. And then on my ruler, I had 5.0 centimeters going along this particular length. Okay, so now what I need to do, right, is that we need to use this scale to go and convert each of these into real life lengths. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to get rid of this formula down here for us to sort of work with. All right, so if I have 4.5 centimeters, okay, distance here in my diagram, that would mean in real life, I would have, multiplying by 1,000, 4,500 centimeters in real life. Okay? Now, think about this just for a moment before we do anything else. This thing here is not a good measurement necessarily to go and measure a block of land in. Okay? We have easier numbers that we could work with, all right? That just means we have to change the units. My suggestion would be to change each of the units to meters. So this would become 45 meters by dividing by 100. Okay, going down that same path, we can do the same thing with 3.5. So 3.5 would become 3,500 by multiplying by it. All right, and then switching again. Okay, notice that I'm not writing the units here, I'm just being quick. We would then have 35 meters. Okay, and finally, 5 centimeters is going to translate to 5,000 centimeters in real life, which is going to give us 50 meters. Okay, so now putting everything into that formula, so A equals H over 2A plus B. All right, instead of using the A's, the B's, and the H's, all right, the H is our perpendicular height, so it's going to be 50 meters times 35 meters plus 45 meters. Okay, putting all of that into your calculator, you'll end up with the answer of 2,000 meters squared. Okay, so that's the first question. Now what we're going to do is we have a little bit of a look at the second question. It says block number 22 is to be fenced on all sides with metal fencing that costs $40.50 per meter. Okay, so what that means is that's a little bit of a hint when it's fenced on all sides that the question's probably going to start looking at the perimeter. Okay, I might just get a bit of a different color here. The perimeter is made up of 2 different lengths, okay, that you can see. So we're probably going to be calculating each of those all right, and using it to help. Now, the other special thing that we're told about is that the owners of 20 and 24 decide to pay half the cost of their common boundary. So what does that mean? Okay, that means this side here and this side here are going to be half the price. We're going to divide their total price by 2. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You get your ruler out and we're going to do some measuring again. On my diagram, what I ended up with, I'll use a bit of a different color. I ended up with 4 centimeters going along this way, which means it's going to be 4 centimeters that way. And then 5 centimeters going vertically and 5 centimeters going vertically that way as well. Okay. All right. So let's calculate the total cost, and we're going to break this down a little bit. So our total cost is going to be equal to, we're going to have two lots of, if we put this into meters, by the way, okay, our 5 centimeters we know is 50, our 4 centimeters we know is going to be 40 meters. Okay, so 50 on the vertical side of things going up and down here. Okay, we have 2 lots of that because we have 2 fences of 50 meters. Okay, so that covers our 2 vertical fences. For every meter in that, we're going to spend $40.50. Okay, so we're going to multiply by $40.50. But remember, on these boundaries, the vertical boundaries, we have a half price because the owners on either side of 20 and 24 have agreed to pay for half the cost. Okay, so we're going to take that and divide by 2. Now, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to add that to the costs of the horizontal sides. Okay, going through the process that we did in part A, we find the meters to be. So you'll notice we have 1 and 2 lots of this because we have 2 fences. So 2 times, instead of 4 centimeters, right, or 4,000 centimeters or anything like that, we convert it to meters, okay, which will come out to be 40. All right, and then for every meter that we have here, we're going to be paying $40.50 per meter. So times $40.50 per meter. Now we don't divide the cost of these ones by 2 because we don't have the owners on either side helping to pay for half. Okay. Now once we've got that, we plug everything into our calculator, all right, and then we find the total price that's going to come out. And you'll end up with $5,265, okay, if you're using the numbers that I have from my scale. Okay. And that's it. That's how you use a scale inside of an exam. You have to do the measurements yourself, all right, which means that you will require a ruler in some situations, okay? All right, I hope this helps. Thank you very much. Bye.